Put your hands in the air if you remember Ernest Goes to Camp. This children's classic produced by Disney and Buena Vista. Not sure my Spanish pronunciation is particularly good there. Was released in 1987 via Touchstone Pictures. Touchstone Pictures. Another one like Orion and Corolico. Was it Corolico? Those classics from the 1980s. As a brief recap of the film, we follow the exploits of Ernest P. Worrell, who is played by the late great Jim Varney, who played Mr. Slinky in Toy Story, who voiced him. Jim Varney, or indeed the Ernest character, was originally in a set of commercials in the States in the mid 80s, and it exploded and went big, and he transitioned to the big screen for Ernest Goes to Camp, Ernest Scared Stupid, Ernest Saves Christmas, and then some various other direct-to-video sequels with declining quality. But Ernest Goes to Camp was the OG, it was the original, and it was such important, still is an important film to me because as a child, it's one of the ones we recorded off the telly, never heard of it, and then we just watched it religiously over and over again. But it was funny. It was strangely moving. It was pretty advanced and pretty dark for a kids' film, and we'll come on to that during the later parts of this series. But I fondly remember it so much because I watch it so often with my family. Even to this day, nearly 4 decades, nearly 40 years after it was first released, we still quote the lines Jack is jaw, Ernest. He's dumber than a bucket full of hair. I want to talk to the punk. Anyway, you get the drift. I won't rehash the whole film for you. Not right now, at least. Anyway, so it was a core part of my childhood, but like all of us, isn't it? Childhood is so fleeting. So as I grew older, as I moved into adult, I didn't really move into adult. I cosplay as an adult. I'm still something of a puerile child at heart. I kind of missed Ernest. I still quoted, we still referenced him, but I didn't watch it for absolutely years. And then as I got into my middle age, you know what it's like. That middle age nostalgia. I need to reclaim my childhood. So I thought, let me dig out and try and watch Ernest Goes to Camp. Now, this was probably, I want to say, maybe 4 or 5 years ago. And I could not find it for love, money, bribery, robbery, or any other illicit activity, which is illegal and don't do it. I scoured all the streaming services. I tried on eBay. And just nowhere. It looked like it gone out of print. Certainly in the UK, there was like a smidgen of DVDs. I think maybe released, but couldn't find those anywhere. There was some releases in the US, including a triple release with Ernest Scared Stupid and Ernest Goes to Jail. Another two of the three classics in the original quadrilogy, as it were. So no, it was very difficult. I believe you could possibly find it on one of those dodgy streaming services, which again is bad. Don't do those dodgy streaming services. They support organised crime and trafficking of humans, another unpleasant, unlawful activity. So if, like me, you be a good boy, polish your little halo, receding, but there's a halo up there somewhere, then you will only get your content through legitimate means. So I put various reminders on both digital streaming platforms. Couldn't find it on Amazon, couldn't find it on Netflix or anywhere. But I did put a reminder on eBay, and it cropped up. I think it was about £5. Someone put it on for VHS. I was like, "Yes, bag it, bag it, bag it!" And it came through all excited. Look, I've finally got my Ernest Goes to Camp. Let's watch it. Let's relive my childhood and wash away these miserable middle-age memories. But I went up into the loft or the attic, if you're from America, and dusted off my VHS player. It wasn't working. It was dead as a dodo. So I actually went back onto eBay and thought just to watch Ernest Goes to Camp. This is the kind of guy I am with the disposable income. I'm just going to splurge my money on VHS video recorders to watch one film. I purchased one and had to pick it up in person, carry it all the way back, unbox it. Brilliant. So I can't plug into my TV, can I? Because it's HDMI and not SCART. Oh God! So I had to buy an HDMI to SCART adapter. Great, done all that, plugged it in into the telly, and guess what? The picture quality and the signal was so poor that it couldn't actually register on the telly. I kept getting a blue screen of death. Oh, so I eventually went read up online, thought, is there any way to convert my VHS into digital? And there is. So then I bought a VHS to digital coder, which I plugged in, and then finally recorded Ernest Goes to Camp. Finally got to watch it, and finally get to do my review of this film. At least I want to say 30 years since I last saw it. A couple of caveats on this. I'm going to break down the review because there's actually quite a lot to say about this film. And I had a really good idea. I have another channel, which nobody watches either. That I did a spoof where I said that Ernest Goes to Camp is the greatest war movie of all time, and no more movie. And then I actually sat down and thought, actually, that's true. So we'll come on to that maybe in a later step or a later part of this review. But initially, I'm going to focus on the opening scene. And God, there's a lot to say about the opening scene. Another disclaimer is this is obviously a VHS copy to digital. I Please, not only do I want Disney, which I think holds the rights to Ernest Goes to Camp and all of the Ernest franchise, please release them as a box set. So I will buy. Release them in 4K. We need a 4K transfer of Ernest Goes to Camp. Alas, until they do that, you're going to have to stick with this rather grainy, slightly odd quality. The sound's not so bad though, but you should be able to get the gist of things. And what I'll probably do is make it really small in that corner or that corner. I haven't decided yet. It's kind of guy I am. And so hopefully that condensed picture will make the image slightly more bearable. So the big question is, they ain't going to get this camp, or gee, I'm glad it's raining. Join me on the first stage of the walk down nostalgia lane that is Ernest Goes to Camp. Know what I mean? This version opens with two alternative versions of the Touchstone Pictures logo. I don't know about you, but they don't make logos like that anymore. And there's a lovely little jingle. I'm not sure if you remember this. We had quite a few Touchstone videos back in the day, so this jingle always reminds me of putting in a video recorder and pressing play and getting to watch an exciting film from the 1980s. We then move on to the actual, which is slightly more condensed one we saw on the TV version, which is of the logo. Again, great logos and great little jingles. It's not quite the 20th century fanfare that you would get before Star Wars that would make the hairs on the back of your head stand up, back of the head, back of your neck, isn't it? Hairs on your head stand up. You don't want that. That was always something for, and even to this day, even now, I hear that, and even though what Disney had done to Star Wars, that's an issue for another day. You destroyed it. You destroyed it. You would just instantly know you were in for something special. And boy, is the opening scene to this alleged children's film something special. In fact, the opening scene is less like some kind of fluffy 1980s children's film like Mac and Me or the BMX Bandits. It's like a bloody horror film. It opens up with the establishes of the moon and these ominous chants. And then it sort of pans down to a man tied to a crucifix type stick. This is a children's film, right? Definitely a children's film. Okay, we'll stick with it. We haven't got a light opening. We've got a pretty dark, slightly unnerving opening. Things then take a little bit of a turn for the politically correct worse, where we have some depictions of Native Americans. They are doing their dancing and face paint and the usual stuff that people might find slightly cliched and not with modern taste and decency. Again, it was a different era, but I sort of think as well, for terms of children, they would not allow this anymore because obviously it's slightly outdated. But it was the 80s. It was just a bit of fun, wasn't it? So we've got the established shot. This is good, isn't it? So we've got like spooky moon and music. We've got a man tied to a stake, and we've got some Native Americans. What could happen? What's next? He pulls out a bloody machete. A machete. What's he brought a machete to a children's film for? Oh, he's not. He's not going to do it. He's going to throw a machete at the man tied to the stake. That is super dangerous. Kids, do not try this at home. Please do not try this at home. This may be some fun thing from the 80s for children, but seriously, throwing machetes at people's heads, especially when they're tied to a stake, may cause some permanent damage. Now, at this point, we've got no context about why people are trying to kill each other with sharp instruments. Has this man done something wrong? But yeah, no context. And looking back as a kid, I was like, hey, this is fun, isn't it? Looking back as an adult, it's like I don't get it. I mean, obviously, I now know it's a rite of passage. This is not a rite of passage. Imagine a bloody bar mitzvah where somebody did this. Not good. But anyway, so fortunately, the machete misses the guy's head, so that must mean something. Phew. Okay, I think that's enough. Hardcore potential murder for an opening scene of a child. No, no, there's more. He takes out an axe. And I know what he's going to do with the axe. He's going to again throw it at the man's head. Oh, unbelievable. Again, well, not again. You wouldn't know this because one thing I just noticed about watching this back is the way the camera's cut. The cut is still on the side where the machete is, and the axe goes the other side. But because it's side on, it does look like he's actually thrown the axe into his forehead. And then obviously the next shot sees that it isn't by his forehead and is by the whatever sort of right side, right, left of his head. So he missed. But the point is, like, that is framed, and it looks like for a few seconds that he's actually hit the man square in the head with an axe. But luckily, like me, when I've thrown machetes and axes at people's heads, I'm a bit off. My aim isn't quite right. So clearly, that is not going to cut the mustard. And he has to go the whole hog with a bow and arrow. So he takes out a bow and arrow and aims at the guy square between the eyes, fires, and again misses. And once again, we have exactly the same shot from the side where it looks like the arrow does go into the guy's head. This is all pretty intense and pretty traumatic opening for a children's film. Like when Bambi's mum dies. Spoiler alert: Bambi's mum dies. This nowhere near as graphic. We don't see Bambi's mum having. Or maybe we should. Maybe in the new Disney remake they'll have someone throwing axes at Bambi's mum's head and making it look like she died. But the point is, so far we've had this man tied to a stake and he's had machete thrown at his face, an axe thrown at his face, and a bow and arrow shot at his face, and he has miraculously missed them all. I know this is going to be a callback to later in the film, but we got no reason, and they come up and speak the language. There's no subtitles in it, so I have no idea what the context is whatsoever. And then it pans up the crucifix to the Native American insignia in symbol. What that means, again, no idea. And in what I am saying is the second best match cut in cinema history after 2001 The Space Odyssey's bone into a spaceship. The insignia burns through to a modern day children's camp where we are introduced to our protagonist, Ernest P. Worrell, icon, legend, brilliant character. So there we go. That is the opening scene. This is the first part of my review of Ernest Goes to Camp. I will be coming back and doing various stages of this. It does take a bit of a while to do, and I have got a job and other things and another channel to run. So please forgive me for the bite-sized portions of content. But in terms of an opening scene, I'm going to still say this is it's not in the sense of if you're modern sensibilities and snowflakes, but this is an awesome beginning to a film, to a kids film. It really sets the tone. Like, wow, this is intense. This is dark. This is pretty near the knuckle in terms of the themes and the issues, and they don't make them like this anymore. I am starting this channel from scratch. So if you do mildly enjoy what I've just spewed out at you, then perhaps you could like it and subscribe it and let me know if you'd like more of this kind of content from me